Joining us now, the radio voice of the BYU Cougars, cool Canadian and food blogger in training, Greg Wrubell, back in Studio B.
Hello, boys.
Hello, Greg. You brought up a fantastic point as soon as you got in studio, and that is Brian has a lot of red in his shirt.
More red than we normally see in this studio. I'm just going to say.
Independence Day.
Now, the contrast color is blue. May look a little blackish, but it's blue. So he's got not enough blue on him, but more red than we're used to seeing.
The blue stripes are bigger than the red stripes.
Right, exactly. And I was
There's a subtle message there, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was late this morning, and I didn't have to iron the shirt, so yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, I jokingly called you.
But as we say, it looks good on you.
Yes,
Thank
Brian.
you. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
I was going to go after B-Lo, right?
Yeah, B-Lo and J-Lo.
I jokingly called you a food blogger, but I'm kind of serious.
Yeah, why?
Because you introduced me, and I'm not going to get free publicity, but like I want to know all of the places you like to eat now because we're one for one.
Yeah. We had a good experience last week. Spencer and Jerem and Harrison and I, we went to lunch last week, a place you guys had not been that I had been before.
Yeah.
You liked it. I love it. So we're good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're going to try and make it 2 for 2 very soon.
I need to get on this because me and my wife, we struggle. You know, where do you want to go? And we just go to Yelp, and it doesn't turn out too well. So just gonna go to Greg.
Stick with us.
Yes.
You'll go far, kid.
Go with us.
Yeah.
Pull up that Greg Wrubell app. Send him a text.
All right, Greg, you've called every single game of BYU football's independence era. So I gather that you'll probably have a strong opinion on today's Twitter question. In your opinion, who's the greatest BYU football player in 6, now going on 7 years of independence?
Okay, now you guys have a Furious 5 for this year's schedule, right?
Yes.
So I've got my own Furious 5 for the top 5 of independence.
Okay, nice.
And I've heard you talk about Jamal, and you can't go wrong if that's your pick. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to justify that. But I've got 5, and Jamal's in the 5.
Okay,
the other guys in the 5 are Kyle Van Noy,
Yes.
Ziggy Ansah, Cody Hoffman,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and Taysom Hill.
Yep.
And my guy's Taysom Hill.
Oh, Taysom Hill, number
nice.
I'm going Taysom Hill.
Nice.
Why Taysom?
You could pick a few different things. More total offense yards than Jim McMahon.
Whoa!
Okay? He is top 5 in rushing yards career, top 5 in touchdowns scored, a hair away from top 10 in career passing yards, and he did stuff every game that got me out of my seat. He was the ultimate third down safety net, the consummate chain mover, the jaw slackener. He was the guy that would do stuff that you simply had not seen before. And again, the only reason he's not the clear number 1 are the injuries.
Yep.
And that's almost, it's like not his fault. Yeah. Those are the fates of
life, right?
of life and football. When he's healthy, there's no one like him in the last 5-6 years of independence. And so the only thing, again, that creates an argument in my mind is the fact that he had some abbreviated seasons. But when the dude was healthy, and even when he was struggling through stuff, he was amazing. And again, the numbers are there, and they would have been, again, out of the ballpark had he just stayed healthy a little bit longer. Yeah. But again, you can't go wrong picking Jamal. The numbers are there for him too. But I think the combination, again, you're talking about a guy that had to throw it and pass it and do so at a really high level. And again, historic numbers to put himself in those. Again, in terms of quarterback rushing, no one comes close. He blew every Steve Young and Brandon Doman number out of the water.
Yeah, hands down.
But then it's just as a player, we're talking about the guy that's in the top 5 in career rushing as a quarterback. Then you throw in the fact that he was throwing for as many touchdowns as he was and doing everything else that you expect a quarterback to do. From the fact, the specimen that he was, how strong he was, just the sheer force of will that he brought to the football field, I lean to Taysom, and again, just slightly, because Jamal's got numbers to back up anyone who says he's the guy. But and again, I use that qualifier. What if he would just been healthy a little longer? Because the injuries are the only thing that keep him from putting up just stratospheric numbers. And even as it was, he did amazing things.
BYU's had one legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate since probably Luke Staley, right? And it's Taysom Hill. Yeah. And he was, the thing about him, when I look at his numbers, perhaps the most impressive stat to me was if he was playing in the game, BYU was always in it. He was never blown out, ever.
Yeah.
He always gave them a chance to win the game.
And from a tactical standpoint, you're the offensive coordinator. you're sitting at 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. As long as he's the guy taking the snap, you feel pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's going to find a way one way or the other. He was, again, I called him the consummate chain mover. That's really what he was. If the play wasn't there, he makes the play himself. Yeah. And he had that ability. And again, when we saw him at full speed, it was something to behold. Again, you think of the plays, the signature plays, the acceleration, the hurdling, the leaping, the stiff arming, all those things. And you go, man, what a stud.
Yeah. He's like a creative player, man, on like Madden or something.
You gonna change your answer now? You
No,
called him the greatest player in the universe.
I'm not trying to be persuasive. I'm just saying. But you think about it. A quarterback doesn't necessarily always have that mentality. He played the game at that position like a different position, like a linebacker or like a want-to-have contact running back. That's who he was. And coaches kind of, smirked and laughed about, we'll tell him that we'd like him to slide or go out of bounds, but they knew when it comes right down to it, if he sees the yard to gain, he sees the marker, he's going for it. Right. Or he sees the end zone, he's going for it. That's what you loved about him. Yeah. He took the punishment. The way he looked on Mondays and Tuesdays just made you shake your head and go, man, that's our guy.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's why right there, he is the best player in the universe. I'm going to now take this clip, and whenever somebody has an argument or says something ridiculous to me, I'm going to be like, hey, download this right here.
No, but if you want me to go off on Jamal, I can do that too.
Yes.
But if I had to go with a 1, it's like a 1 and a 1A. I just give Taysom that little bit of an edge. There couldn't be a bigger fan.
I agree with Greg, though, because remember we talked about this yesterday, and without hesitation, I said Taysom Hill. But with me and kind of my mindset, I said, well, Taysom, has every opportunity to make a play and have an impact, and which is fine. I don't want to give him a slap on the wrist for that. That's the position he plays. And so I said, what's another player that can make an impact that's not on the offensive side of the ball? That's kind of it's expected, right? Taysom exceeds those expectations, and just what Greg says. But Kyle, to me, is like, okay, that's somebody or in a position that you have to kind of go above and beyond, right, to make that type of impact.
Yeah. Game changer, playmaker, game winner. I mean, that's what you want from a defensive player. You have to be pretty spectacular to have those kind of monikers or appellations, and that's who Kyle was. Yeah. Ziggy, we throw in the mix because, honestly, if he's that good in the NFL, you know how good he was in college.
His story, and Jerem Jordan and I've had this conversation, is better than The Blind Side. When are we making the Ziggy Ansah movie?
Well, we've got a friend, Jeff Call, who for years has been working and kind of behind the scenes trying to get a book project written about. It's going to be a great book when it's written ultimately, because it's a wonderful story. And again, late to the game, late bloomer, sport changer from one to the other. But he's definitely in the mix because of his impact as well. Yeah.
You brought up the Furious Five that we've been talking about in terms of BYU's 2017 football schedule with LSU, Utah, Wisconsin, Boise State, and Mississippi State. How would you rank those 5 games from most difficult to then, I guess, easiest, although none of them are easy?
Okay, we'll go 5 Boise State, 4 Mississippi State, 3 Utah, 2 Wisconsin, 1 LSU. So I put LSU number 1 because of when you get them and where you get them. It's kind of in their backyard. It's their first game. New offensive coordinator. We know a little bit of what he does, but not there. So you're seeing new things from a really talented group. Great defensive coordinator with good history against BYU and Dave Aranda. So and they had a good season last year, an 8-win year. They expect to be better this year. Really, it's almost 2 guys that I put them number 1 for: Arden Key and Darius Geis. The 2 best players BYU might see this year, offensively and defensively, might come in the first game. Darius Geis at running back and Arden Key at rush end. They might be, again, who's to say now? They might be the 2 best players BYU sees, and they come in the same game on either side of the ball.
Wow.
So, and Leonard Fournette played just 7 games last year. Darius Geis had more carries, more yards, and arguably the better, in every way, the better season last year.
He led the SEC in rushing.
So Fournette gets all the pub, but Darius Geis was the man. And I was watching him just play last night. He's punishing. He's a punisher. You think about Jamal. Jamal loves the contact. Darius Geis loves the contact. He lays people out from running back. I guess this is good. I don't push a lot of weight, but he squatted 650 recently. Ooh. That sounds good. That sounds like a lot of weight.
That's definitely a lot.
So if you're running back squatting 650, he's a punisher. So Darius Geis and Arden Key make LSU to me. And where they're playing, number 1. Wisconsin's number 2, 11-win season last year. Because of where they're playing, they're coming to our place, right? So they're number 2. Utah's right in the middle, number 3. They're coming to Provo. Boise, Mississippi State are kind of 6s to me. So if it's that close, I'll go Mississippi State because you're traveling into SEC
You're in
territory,
Starkville.
playing on their field. Plus, I think they're going to be up a little bit from last season. And so if it's close at 4 or 5, I give the tougher game, obviously, to the one you're traveling for in SEC
it's a higher
country.
talent level.
It's SEC and it's on the road. So, yeah, so my Furious 5 goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about ways to remedy the cowbell situation in Starkville.
You deal with it. You live through it. Yeah, I still remember. I did one game there with the 2001 season, right?
Yep.
In fact, that was the game that got us to 12-0, I think.
Yes.
Luke Staley breaks his ankle right at the very end of that game, and that was cowbells nonstop. And at least at the time, it was an open press box, and the first row stands are just below us, like feet below us, and they were just ringing all night long, just feet from our headphones, and after a while, you become kind of immune to it. But it was a game-long vuvuzela-like drone, and I look forward to getting back and seeing how it sounds this time. Yeah.
Greg Wrubell with us, the radio voice of the BYU Cougars in Studio B. You've spent some time with BYU basketball lately, behind the closed doors of the annex, if you will. Watching them practice, this is a brand new team, and so much turnover. Why do you feel optimistic about this team after Eric Mika's departure?
You lose a really good player in Eric Mika. Let's not overlook the fact that they'd be probably better in better shape with a player like that on the floor. But that said, this gives them the opportunity to explore more floor space, if you will. With Yoli and Eric last year, they were really focused and dependent on pounding it inside and getting production inside the paint. And they were a pretty good 2-point field goal percentage team last year. But overall, in terms of an effective field goal percentage, they were down. They were better inside, not as good elsewhere, and the overall was like a net negative in terms of efficiency from the season before. I expect the efficiency to tick back up again as this year they were a little less typical relative to post play and spreading it around a little more and putting players you might consider to be inside guys in different spots on the floor. So it'll look a lot different. BYU is going to play differently on offense. There's no question about that. There's different tactical approaches, coaching approaches, personnel approaches from one year to the next. It'll be quite the change in terms of how we look from last year to this. But but I think it could be a better look for BYU and a more traditional look for a Dave Rose style team.
Yeah, kind of what he wants to do.
You can look at Dave's numbers over his tenure here and say that last year's team didn't take or make as many threes as would be typical of a Dave Rose coach team. I think we're going to see that number tick back up for obvious reasons. There are more shooters on the floor. There weren't enough of them, enough proficient shooters on the floor at one time last year. We're going to see more and more spacing this year that allows them to be a little more, again, diverse and I think effective as an offensive team, even without a really good player in Eric Mika. So I think if you took a look at who's gone and now who's in, even though you lose an excellent player in Eric Mika, I don't think it's irresponsible to posit or to argue that it could be a net gain in what BYU has this year from last year to this in terms of all the different kinds of personnel, what they can do, and what they're best known for. Just look at the names of who's gone, the names of who's in, and say, yeah, I think that could be actually a net positive. Yeah.
Interesting stuff from Greg Wrubell, who is spending time not just getting ready for the football season, which is not very far away, and with the basketball team as they go back to more of a spread the floor, shoot it from the outside, and there are plenty of shooters on this BYU basketball
on the calendar,
team.
By the way, Spencer, 3 weeks from today, first practice for BYU football.
Brian's got goosebumps.
I'm so excited.
Brian's got goosebumps.
It starts for us, man. I don't know. With me, it starts right now. After BYU Football Media Day, I just feel like the season starts. I don't know. Everything, all the topics and the content is just surrounded around that. I mean, you have nice summer weather, all that stuff, man.
Clear the mechanism,
dude,
and
I'm like
in.
this close from like kicking my son, my 2-year-old out the bed because I sleep with my football. I've been carrying it around the house.
This is the time, the 1 month gap between media day and camp starting. That's when the coaches and players take their final breath. They get away from it for a little bit, they recharge, and they get ready to roll. We know that Tanner's been floating the middle fork of the salmon, and all these guys are doing what gets them right for the season. Their last chance to take a breath and exhale before it hits. And it's going to hit in July, if you can believe it, this year.
Crazy.
So with the 2-a-days going away and the week 0 game coming in, it's an earlier start than ever. And so here we are in 3 weeks. They're on the field.
Yes, please. As always, we will wrap with a cool thing about Canada. What's today's cool thing, Greg?
You know, I really didn't know where to go today. I was kind of torn between a football-centric thing and a non-football-centric thing. And I think I'm going to go non-football today. Canada's got plastic money. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So the bills, the currency, the bills, they're actually a polymer. They're plastic to avoid easy counterfeiting. And so, you know, in the States and previously in Canada, we use a cotton paper, right? A really durable paper. Canada went away from that. They go to plastic money. It's actually a plastic. It's really hard to counterfeit. Counterfeits are way, way down since they did this. And so it may look kind of paperish, but it's really plastic money. So we have dollar coins and $2 coins, and we got plastic money. We're a unique country.
I was like, I never, you know, so when I played in Edmonton, I was like, I never noticed that, but then I realized I was on the practice roster, so I didn't make a lot of money. I do remember I had a whole bunch of coins though. I had the dollars.
The loonies and the toonies. So the dollar coins, the loonies, the $2 coins, the toonies, and we got our plastic currency on top of that.
That's amazing.
By the way, how did you like life as an Eskimo? By the way,
It was good. It was good, man.
they love their football up there.
Yeah, you know, it was the city treated us good. It was kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, is what they said. So a lot of money and we had the nice facilities. So I kind of felt good, you know, transitioning from nice facilities here to.
Did you learn to hate Calgary in your short time there?
Yeah, I kind of did.
Because Calgary and Edmonton, that's the BYU and Utah,
absolutely.
you know.
That's the clash
Absolutely.
right there. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't as rowdy though. I played, you know, in the preseason. Some of the guys, you know, there was some stories and stuff. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. Bonus Canada thing. It was the second thing I was going to go to. So former Utah State quarterback Anthony Calvillo.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He is the all-time leader in CFL passing yards, just under 80,000 yards. Peyton Manning is the NFL leader. It's under 72,000, almost 80,000 yards for Anthony Calvillo. He of the 58-56 win over BYU back in 1993. When he passed for 5 touchdowns and ran for 2 more, and John Walsh passed for 5 touchdowns and passed for 619 yards in that wild game. Yeah, 114 points that day. Anyway,
fantastic
there you go.
stuff.
A little more than you were bargained for today.
Our producer Ben Bagley is smiling somewhere. The Utah State Aggie. Right?
Ben's also probably saying, "We're late. Get out." He's going long.
Yes. Yeah.
Great stuff, man. Hey, always fun. Thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
Yeah, good
yep.
stuff.